Hello, it's me, Mike, with HPDS. This video will be a reading and studying of Exodus chapter 16. So before I get started, I'll read the Lord's Prayer. And it reads, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. All right, so chapter 16. Before I get into Exodus 16, I'll give you a quick summary. If you remember, chapter 15 was called Songs and Bitter Waters. And basically, it was... a couple of songs that Moses sang and one that Miriam sang. And it was after chapter 14, Exodus 14, where they actually cross the Red Sea. And when they cross the Red Sea, of course, Pharaoh follows after them and he perishes with all his host. 15, they're singing these songs in praise and in celebration to the Lord. And by the end, they come across the bitter waters of Marah. But of course, Moses throws a piece of wood in there and it makes the water sweet. And God also tells them that if they keep the laws and the commandments and listen to him and so forth, then they will actually not have any of the diseases that were placed upon the Egyptians. But this is going to be, Exodus 16, what we'll be looking for. Exodus 16 is called Quail and Manna in the Wilderness of Sin. And what we're looking for in this chapter, it's a chapter of about 36 verses. And verses 1 through 3, we're going to see the wilderness murmurings. In verses 4 through 10, we're going to see that God instructs Moses. And then in verses 11 through 15, God sends quail and manna. And then in verses 16 through 21, we see the instructions to gather an omer. In verses 23 to 26, we'll read about the 6 days gathering. And in verses 27 through 31, we'll rest on the seventh day. And in verses 32 to 36, we'll read about how manna is kept as a testimony. Sorry. So, let me go ahead and get into reading Exodus 16. And as I say, I read it out of the King James Version. And I'll read it, and then afterwards, I'll give it to the Holy Spirit, and we'll see what the Holy Spirit has to say about this. So, Exodus 16, and it reads, And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after the departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them, whether they will walk in my law or no. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, At even then ye shall know that the Lord had brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning then ye shall see the glory of the Lord. For that he heareth your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we, that ye murmur against us? And Moses said, This shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. For that the Lord heareth your murmurings, which ye murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. And Moses spake unto Aaron, saying, Unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come before the Lord, for he hath heard your murmurings. And it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. And it came to pass that at even the quails came up, and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay round about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man, according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for them which are in his tents. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathereth much had nothing over, and he that gathereth little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, Let no man leave of it till the morning. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms, and stank. And Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, This is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath. Unto the Lord bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. And they laid it up until the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath, therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna, and it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, This is the thing which the Lord commandeth. Fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord, to be kept for your generations. As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna, until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. And that is Exodus chapter 16 in its entirety. And so that's Exodus 16. Basically, they're getting the quail and the manna, and they're in the wilderness of sin, and they eat that manna for basically 40 years until they reach their destination. And of course, we'll read more about that in later chapters. But this chapter in particular, I would say, is interesting because it's the first time we actually hear the word Sabbath. He's calling it the Sabbath. The 7th day is the Sabbath. Now, all through, like in the beginning of Genesis, we did read about how on the 7th day the Lord rested. But he did not call it the Sabbath yet. And we have, for the past few chapters, been reading about how the 7th day they have to, take rest. Like even during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, basically it's a holy day. They're not allowed to do anything. The only thing they can do is the work that they need to eat. And they shouldn't go out. They shouldn't do anything. They should just whatever it takes to eat, and that's all they should do. And we hadn't heard the word Sabbath, though, until this chapter. And I did make mention of it, I believe, in the chapter 13 study, because in chapter 13 is where he uses the word matrix when he's talking about the womb, and when they're setting apart that the firstborn all belong to the Lord and that they have to be redeemed. But let me go ahead and reread this, and we'll give it to the Holy Spirit, and we'll see what the Holy Spirit has to explain about this. And here it is. And they took their journey from, and remember, verses 1 through 3, we're going to hear some wilderness murmurings. And then 4 through 10, we're going to hear about how God gives instructions to Moses before we get into the quail and manna and so forth. So 1 through 3 is some murmurings. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. Now, I did make mention of that. Right here it gives you a time frame. Basically, it's been 2 months. It's the second month and the 15th day. So this should be what, April? Basically, this is May. This is May 15th. They're departing out of the land of Egypt. And I did make mention, like I think in the chapter 14, that about a couple of different maps that I come across when I look for the Exodus. And this one seems to be the more accurate one, whereas I think this one right here is not as accurate. See, this one has them cut more through the center of this place, whereas it seems like they probably went down south and kind of came back up north. But either way, one map had Mara way out here, kind of where this one shows Ezion Geber. And that's kind of what this map would show over here, I believe, right here, like Pi Hahiroth. See, this is showing them over here making the crossing over here, I believe. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Maybe it is. They do get into Medium, but that's in a few chapters anyway. So it seems like the wilderness of Sin, it tells them, is between Elim and Sinai. So let's go ahead. Elim and Sinai, which is right here. Elim and Sinai seems to be that case. And this other picture, Elim maybe and Sinai. So it's kind of right here, the wilderness of Sin. You see it right now, wilderness of Sin. And it's intriguing, the words that are used, because I know these words are, you would think that they're taken from their native language, but this is just kind of like, English language. So at this point, you got to realize that they are in the wilderness of Sin. They've been saved from Egypt, and now they've kind of come into this wilderness of sin, because you're going to see quite a bit of their sin and all the things, foolish things that they do as basically, they've been corrupted, and they we'll see all kinds of things that happen to the children of Israel and the country of Israel and so forth, and the people of Israel. And let's see. So they're murmuring him in this wilderness here. And what did they say to him? They said, "Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." So again, here they are murmuring again to the Lord. Just like the past few chapters, they're crying about something. So they've seen all these great miracles, yet they're still crying, and they're still calling out to Moses, afraid of what's going to happen to them. And so, of course, remember, that's what I call like the addiction. I think I said that in Exodus 14, where I kind of talked about how they were addicted to Egypt. And here they are showing again their addiction. They said, it would have been better if we would have died in Egypt, if God would have just killed us in Egypt when we had our, flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. So, like I said, here they are with their addictions, their city habits, their city life. They're saying there's nothing wrong with that, even though they were in bondage and made to work all day, or they were made to work more than they should have been, more than God even commanded them to work. They were in full bondage to Pharaoh and them, and they loved it. They wanted to be there still. They're still sad and still upset about it. "For ye have brought us," and they think here they're going to die now with hunger. So even though God is with them, they think, they're going to die of hunger for whatever reason. And so getting into, remember, verses 4 through 10, we're going to see that after these murmurings, God is going to give some instructions to Moses. And here he is. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them, whether they will walk in my law or no. So he's saying there's going to be another miracle where I'm going to rain bread, and we all know this still to this story. We know about manna. Manna is bread from heaven, food from heaven. And God is saying he's going to prove them, whether they're going to walk in his law or not. And remember, that comes back to last chapter where he did say if they walk in his law, he won't bring any of the diseases that he brought upon Egypt upon them. But if they don't, he's going to bring the diseases upon them. That's kind of what that bittersweet moment was. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So basically he's saying you're going to go out every day, you're going to collect this bread, this manna, and on the 6th day you're going to bring in twice as much as normal. Okay, because he's giving them the instructions talking about the Sabbath and how to properly celebrate or properly worship on the Sabbath. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, At even, then ye shall know that the Lord had brought you out from. So he's telling them, look, this is what's going to happen. And Moses is telling the people what God has told them about all this. And then they go out in the morning. Then it says, In the morning, then ye shall see the glory of the Lord, for that he heareth your murmurings. And what are we that ye murmur against us? So he's saying, why you crying? Why you murmuring against Moses and Aaron? Because we're going to hear that you're not really murmuring against us, you're murmuring against God, against the Lord himself, it says in the next chapter. But Moses said, This shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread for full. So he's saying in the morning you're going to get this bread, and then in the evening you're going to get some meat, some flesh to eat. Because the Lord heareth your murmurings, which ye murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. So he's saying, why to all the people, all these people are still like babies. They're like children. They're really addicted to Egypt, and they're still going through their withdrawals of Egypt. And they're crying out and being kind of, grumpy and mad about this to Moses. And Moses is saying, why are you crying to me? This is God. The Lord did this for us. Not me. And so here we get into it. And Moses spake unto Aaron, saying, Say unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before the Lord, for he hath heard your murmuring. So here they're getting the congregation of the children of Israel, and he's coming them all, and he's telling them he's heard your crying. And moving on, and it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. So here's the cloud coming back to them. Apparently it must have been a day that maybe the cloud kind of went off for a moment or something. But here he comes again. The Lord appeared in the cloud. So he's reminding them it's only been a month. It's the second month, so it's like May 15th, and it's only been a month out since they actually left Egypt, and that 10th plague happened, in which they in which the firstborn of Egypt all die. But here he comes again. So it hasn't been very long. This whole time he's been around. So they're crying for some reason, and that's what God is saying. They're crying, and they're like babies. They're like children. Even though God is there, they're still crying. And of course, we get into verses 11 through 15, where God sends the quail and manna. And in verse 11, it just says that the Lord spake unto Moses. And in verse 12, we hear him say, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. So he's telling them, I'm going to feed you. I'm going to start feeding you in the morning and in the evening. You're going to have flesh to eat at dinner, and breakfast is going to be bread. And of course, and it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay ray about the. So what is a quail? If you don't know what a quail is, let's go to search, and I'm going to look for images of quails, and of course, all thanks to Google's thing. This is what it is. It's basically a bird. I've never eaten quail. I know you can go quail hunting here in the United States. It's kind of a popular deal. pheasant hunting, I guess, is kind of similar. Here it looks like this is the kind of food that the quail you can eat from. So it is like I guess like a bird. Like I would imagine, just like everything else, it probably tastes like chicken. And so they had all kinds of quails come up, and so they were able to catch and eat these quails at night. And in the morning, the dew lay around about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, the face of the wilderness, there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost in the ground. So basically, like a seed. It's like a little seed that kind of was there in the morning dew, and then when the dew kind of went away, there it was. It was still like this seed, and when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one to another, "It is manna," for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, "This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat." So if you know anything about making bread, you know how it can kind of come, how it comes from these seeds, this grain kind of deal, and that's what it is. And I know, where does it say? It talks about how it looks like a coriander. I think it said it in this one. Where is it? Let's see. Does it say coriander up in here? I thought it did on this. Like coriander seed. So this is what and it was like coriander seed. So I'm going to go ahead and Google just to kind of show you what these coriander seeds look like. So this is kind of what the manna looked like. Something like this. It was just like a little seed that was there just magically in the mornings, supernaturally. Once again, just like the quail showed up in their camps supernaturally so they could eat. Here's the manna that looks something like a coriander seed, and it just showed up in the morning dew. It was left behind by the morning dew. So keep that in mind. And let's see. And moving on to verse let's see, 15, I think I read that, yeah. And the children of Israel, they didn't know what it was, and the bread that which, so moving into verse 16, here's, we're getting into verses, 16 through 21, where they're giving instructions now to gather an omer. And an omer, I'm not entirely sure what an omer is either. Let's Google it, just like everything else. But it is some type of a measurement. Is an important verbal counting of the, no, I don't know what this is. How to count the omer. See, and right here, my Jewish learning. Here, the Jew people, here it's still how to count the omer. Guide to the, I don't know what that means, but I'm not having the greatest. Let's see, and it talks about this talking. It's some sort of a measurement, and I don't know what it is, but it's an omer. Everybody was supposed to basically gather enough for themselves to eat, which is basically an omer for every man, according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man. So they were commanded to go out and gather this manna. So this is what they had to eat. This is what God said they were going to eat. And look, it's kind of like a job that they have to do. They have to go out and collect this stuff so that they could make their bread. And the children of Israel did so. And they gathered, some more and some less. So everybody went out and gathered what they were going to eat. And he's saying that basically everybody had enough. And so there was so this was not just a little bit of manna. Remember, there was something like 600,000 men alone. So men plus the women and children that they brought with them. You probably had over 1 million people here in this desert. And so they were all able to go collect manna. Everybody had enough to collect. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. So basically they gathered enough for all of them themselves. They all were able to work together, and everybody was able to gather enough for themselves, and they never had anything more, never less. It was just perfect. It was just an absolute miracle. So this is what God is saying. He's in control of everything. He was even giving them just the perfect amount of manna too. And then Moses gives them some instructions right here, telling them something particular, also showing the supernaturalness of the supernatural kind of properties of this manna here. And so it says, Moses said, let no man leave it of it till morning. But some people didn't listen, of course. And I would call these kind of like what you would think of as the scientists of today, of their day. These are scientists, people that, you know, either just weren't listening because they're bad people, they're dumb people, weren't listening, or they wanted to know what happened. Like a scientist, they were kind of testing God. These are people testing God. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And you see, Moses was wroth with them. So Moses gets mad at them for, why are you leaving it out? You're supposed to eat everything. Don't try to save it. You cannot save it until morning, and it goes bad. It went real bad, too. Not just a little bad. It went real bad with worms, and it stank. So it was supernatural that if they try to eat it over or keep it overnight, then it just, so that they could save it. God is saying, don't save it. Every day you got to go do this. For 6 days, you got to go do this. And then, of course, later on, we read that on the 6th day, they're supposed to gather twice as much, obviously. But of course, they didn't do it. They weren't paying attention. So think of it like on a Monday, basically. They go out to get it. And if they try to save it into Tuesday morning, it got all gross. It went bad. And so, of course, they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. So they had to do it in the morning, because by lunchtime, it was gone. By the time the sun was up in the noon sky, it was gone. And it came to pass that on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And so here they are on that 6th day. So this is the 6th day they've gone out there, and now instead of collecting as much as they need normally, they say, you know what, go ahead and gather twice as much as you normally do collect. And then here's a supernatural, another supernatural property of it. So it was going bad every night, but God tells them, and Moses tells them, he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seed that ye will seed, and that which remaineth over up, lay for you to be kept until the morning. So now they're being told, while the rest of the week they're saying, don't keep it until morning. And if you did keep it, it went bad. Here on basically the Sabbath, the day before the Sabbath, the 6th day of the week, which, we should know as Friday, basically. On Friday, they come up here. So Sunday is actually the first day of the week. So I guess Sunday is the first week. I know I said Monday, but let's go Sunday. Sunday is the first day. Saturday is the Sabbath. And Friday is the day that they have to go collect twice as much. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if you try to keep it overnight, it went bad. But Friday night, it actually stayed good. And they laid it up till the morning, and Moses bade, and it did not stink. Neither was there any worm therein. So you see, supernatural. For some reason, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it goes bad. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it goes bad. Friday night, it doesn't go bad. So that's supernatural. That's God right there, showing them so that on Saturday, on the Sabbath, they don't have to go out and collect it. They just have to stay indoors and cook and eat. And of course, Moses said, eat that today, for today is the Sabbath unto the Lord, and today ye shall not find it in the field. So here he is calling it the Sabbath, for today is the Sabbath. And I'm going to go ahead and search Google for Sabbath. It's a day of religious observance and abstinence from work, kept by Jews from Friday evening to Saturday evening, and by most Christians on Sunday. So you see, I don't know what it really means other than that, but it's just that everybody knows what it is. And so he's the first time he's actually calling it the Sabbath, though. This is it's a day of rest. Ye shall not, and of course, God, that's what God's saying. Not only are you supposed to rest, the Lord himself is resting. So that means on Saturday, that's why he didn't give out any food. It was already done. He took the day off. He was resting. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. So that's just what he's saying. Guess what? No food on the Sabbath, so you better collect twice as much on Friday. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. So here again, the scientists or the dumb people that just aren't listening. Either people are testing God, they're saying, well, I don't believe it. Let me go take a look. Sure enough, there's nothing there, because like I said, even though the scientist people would have known that this is clearly something supernatural. It's showing up every day except on Sabbath, and every day it goes bad except for the day before Sabbath. So that's really something, they're really finding it out, even if they're doing it the wrong way. They really found out, and they really tested it. And you see how the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments? So Sorry. But so you can see already, it's only been, what, a month now. It's the second month, so it's May 15th over here. And they're already not keeping the commandments. So just like at the end of chapter 15, that bittersweetness, that bittersweet moment at Horeb, that if they keep his commandments, nothing bad will happen to them. But here they are, they're not even keeping his commandments. He's made simple commandments. And here are a bunch of people going out on the 6th day, on the 7th day, trying to collect some food and keeping food the rest of the week, trying to make it last throughout the week. So that, but here's Lord telling him, how long will you refuse to keep my land? So verse 29 moves on, and it, let's see. So we've gone through what, 22 through 26 was that 6 days gathering. So 22 through 26 was about that 6 days, and 27 through 31 was about the rest on the 7th day. So you see that on 27 to 31 is resting on the 7th day. So that's where I'm already at in the Sabbath. And of course, he's telling them, why aren't you keeping my Sabbath? They're not keeping the Sabbath already. See for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So he's telling them, hey, stop going out on the 7th day of the week. Just stop. You collect enough for 2 days on the 6th day of the week. And so you get that. So the people rested on the 7th day, which, like I said, is technically Saturday in today's world, on today's map. And getting into verse 31, he says, and the house of Israel called the name thereof manna, and it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. Oh my goodness, forgive me. So the coriander seed is basically what I kind of showed earlier, what it kind of looked like, and they're saying that it tasted like basically wafers made with honey. So it was pretty tasty, and it was pretty good. And they're just and they called it manna, and it was just something, like I said, it was what they had to eat there in the desert. It's not around anymore. It was supernatural. It was given the children of Israel, and they knew it was supernatural, and they could tell, and they just understood that they had proof. This is like I said, we're still celebrating this stuff today because we know that it was truth. It really happened. It's not some story that, that just existed, like, for whatever reason. It happened, and we're still remembering it to this day. And moving in to verse 32 through 36, remember, they keep this manna as a testimony. So Moses said, this is a thing which the Lord commanded, fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the... So even though this stuff was going bad every freaking night, every single night, for whatever reason, this stuff that they put in for their testimony, it did not go bad. They put it in a pot, and all the rest of it was going bad, but this one was good. It just got to stay there. And it gets kept for the generations. And then in verse 34 it says, as the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And verse 35 reads, and the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. So it's just kind of giving you an omer. I don't really know what the size is. But they knew what the size was, and it's counting. It's a certain amount. They kept it up as testimony in a jar, and of course this gets lost later on. But this is something we'll read about in far later on when they lose the Ark of the Covenant, and of course by that point they didn't even have the manna in there anymore. Nobody knew what happened to it or the Book of the Law or anything. So, but this has been Exodus chapter 16. And yeah, that's I'll go ahead and give one last quick summary. Basically, chapter 16. Oh, hold on, it went dark on me. Gotta get rid of that. Oh, talking to myself now. Chapter 16. Once again, basically the summary is this is the chapter in which manna and quail showed up while the people, after they've crossed the Red Sea, after they've gone through after they've been told by God to keep His commandments and no diseases will come upon them. Here they are, being fed out in the wilderness, and they're not even keeping the commandments yet. They're already disobeying in very simple matters. They're told not to gather any food on the Sabbath and to rest. And what do? They go out and collect food. And they're also told not to keep any of the food over the week, or else it's going to go bad. But of course, they don't pay attention, and they're already right away, even getting fed, they're not listening. They're not following the commandments. They're like bad children. You're trying to feed this little baby, and this baby's just spitting the food up or doing something bad with the food. Can't seem to get it right, or however you want to say it. But I will go ahead and end this video here. It's been Exodus chapter 16. God bless you, whoever may be watching this video. Please, God bless you in the name of Jesus Christ. And if you like the video, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to this channel for future chapter by chapter Bible studies. So like I said, God bless you, and